Freedom. What is freedom? For some, freedom is simply a means to an end. They want something, and the government is supposed to give that to them, and that's freedom. For others, it means they get to do whatever they want to do, regardless of how it affects their fellow man. But for me, freedom is something entirely different. For me, freedom is the right to do the right thing, to recognize no higher power than God and to serve Him with my all, to recognize my calling in life and to pursue that calling without government assistance or intervention. Hi, I'm Caleb with Nebraska Farm Boy. I'm an 18-year-old homeschooled electrician apprentice with next to no prior building experience. In this video, you will see how I built the exterior portion of my house debt-free while working 2 part-time jobs, graduating EMT class, and high school for that matter. But that's kind of a story for another day. Throughout this build, I will be keeping track of how much money I spent, how many people were helping me with each task, and roughly how long each task took. Now, when I say how many people were helping me with each task, I will be including each of my little siblings as a full person, so just keep that in mind. Also, it's hard to keep track of all those little expenses, so I did my best, but there may have been a few expenses that slipped. And finally, I did not video on every single day that I was working, but I did for the majority, so you can get a rough idea of how long this will take, how much money this is going to cost, and who you need to help you while building your dream tiny home. So there you go, how I built the exterior portion of my house for just over $10,000. When I was first looking into building a house, I looked into having a portable cabin moved onto the site so I would just have to hook up utilities and finish the interior. But I'm so glad I didn't go with that option, because while that may be a good option in certain situations, for me, I was able to save over half the money that it would have cost me to buy that portable cabin, and I believe I came out with a better product. Now, don't get me wrong, this house is far from complete. Both the exterior and the interior have a long ways to go, but at this point I feel like it's stable. Like, I can leave it as is and it's not gonna fall down, it's not going to rot. And think about it, you could do this build over your summer break. You could do this over the weekends. You could do this while working a full-time job. And the possibilities are endless, and it's not my place to tell you how to build your house in your specific situations, but I hope this might have inspired you, given you some ideas. This build is far from over, and I can't wait to see where God brings it. I hope that you will continue to join me as we continue on in this series of building the house. Remember, I'm not a construction worker. This isn't where you should learn construction, but it might give you some ideas on building your house. Remember to live free, serve no higher power than God, and God bless.